Missing 6-year-old boy. Found after 22 hours, but he wasn't alone. 1. It seemed like an ordinary Monday evening, but for the Leach family, this day would turn into a nightmare. Caden, a lively and cheerful 6-year-old boy, suddenly disappeared from his home in Blount County, Tennessee. His parents, who always let him play outside, had made it clear that he shouldn't wander far. But that evening, he didn't return home as usual at 6 p.m. The minutes dragged on like hours, with no sign of Caden. At first his parents thought he might be hiding somewhere in the house. But when they couldn't find him, a growing unease took hold. With each passing moment, their fear deepened, and they finally called the local sheriff. "This is not like him," Caden's mother explained with a trembling voice. Caden was a typical child, full of energy, always curious, and constantly on the move. He especially loved playing with his loyal dog, Chula, a black and white terrier. But that evening, nothing was as it should be. Twilight set in, temperatures dropped, and his parents could only think about one thing. Caden was out there alone, without a coat, in the dark. News of Caden's disappearance quickly spread through the small community of Top of the World. For the residents, it wasn't just a shock. It was a call to action. Everyone who could help prepared to join the search for the boy. The police wasted no time, mobilizing all available resources, including the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation and even a military Blackhawk helicopter. The Leach family was in shock, but they knew they couldn't waste any time. With tears in their eyes and hearts filled with fear, they described the last moments they saw their son to the officers. Caden was wearing gray sweatpants, a black t-shirt, and slippers, clothing that offered little protection against the encroaching cold. "Losing a child is the worst thing that can happen to anyone," Caden's father whispered, staring into the darkness. And so began an intense and emotional search that would push everyone to their limits. But what no one could have predicted was that this night would turn into a story of hope, community, and extraordinary loyalty. 2. Darkness fell over Blount County, and temperatures plummeted rapidly. Meanwhile, an unprecedented search operation unfolded, mobilizing the entire community. Nearly 100 first responders, including the FBI, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, the fire department, and the local search and rescue team, scoured the rugged mountainous terrain surrounding Caden's home. Overhead, a military Blackhawk helicopter combed the area from the skies. For Caden's parents, the hours felt like an eternity. The Leachs felt helpless, but they weren't alone. Their small community demonstrated incredible solidarity. Volunteers arrived with flashlights, blankets, and supplies, ready to search through the night. Megan Kessler, a local resident, organized food and warm drinks for the rescue teams. "We couldn't just sit and do nothing," she explained. "This could have happened to any of us." Throughout the night, rescuers combed through forests, mountains, and abandoned buildings. Hope and fear ran high. Caden's parents were overwhelmed with guilt. "Did we let him play alone too much?" his mother repeatedly asked herself. The thought of Caden, cold and scared in the dark, was almost unbearable. As dawn broke, the search intensified. Daylight finally provided better visibility of the terrain. Search teams focused on a half-mile radius around Caden's home, though more remote areas were also covered. The rescuers often looked to the sky, hoping the helicopter might spot something. Tension grew with every passing hour. Time was running against them, and the dropping temperatures made the urgency to find the boy even greater. But the community refused to give up. Facebook posts and messages on neighborhood apps spread the word about the search. "We're a community, and we don't leave anyone behind," one volunteer declared firmly. Rescuers tried to think like a 6-year-old boy. Where might he hide? Would he seek shelter from the cold? These considerations eventually led them to the forests near the Top of the World community. No one knew what they might find there, only that they had to do everything possible to bring Caden home. By the afternoon of the second day, the search teams suddenly heard a faint growl coming from the dense woods. Everyone froze, hearts racing. They followed the sound, which grew louder as they approached. Finally, about half a mile from Caden's home, they made an incredible discovery. Caden was sitting on the ground, shivering from the cold, but he wasn't alone. Beside him stood his loyal dog, Chula, barking protectively. The growling they had heard had come from Chula. The little terrier had stayed by Caden's side all night, guarding him from the cold and any potential danger. The rescuers were deeply moved by the scene. Chula was his guardian angel, one of them later said. Caden was hypothermic and trembling, but alive. The rescuers wrapped him in blankets and rushed him back to his parents. The relief was palpable, but no one could overlook the emotional strength of Chula. The small dog had never abandoned his best friend in his darkest hour. The news that Caden had been found spread like wildfire throughout the community. His parents ran as soon as they heard their little boy was alive. When they could finally hold him in their arms, tears of relief flowed uncontrollably. But the story wasn't over yet. There was more to what Caden and Chula had endured. Rescuers brought Caden to Blount Memorial Hospital to ensure he hadn't suffered any lasting harm. Doctors checked him for hypothermia and other potential injuries. Although he was trembling and exhausted, his condition was stable. His parents could hardly believe that after nearly 22 hours in the freezing forest, their son had only minor scratches. Meanwhile, a rescuer cared for Chula. The small terrier looked tired but determined to stay by her best friend's side. She hadn't eaten or slept through the frosty night, devoting all her energy to guarding Caden. "This dog is a hero," said one member of the rescue team. "Without Chula, Caden might not have survived the night." Back home, Caden and Chula were welcomed as heroes. The community that had tirelessly searched for them celebrated their return with hugs, tears, and immense gratitude. Chula's loyalty moved everyone, and the story quickly spread beyond Blount County. Messages of encouragement poured in from around the world, congratulating the family and praising the courage of the little dog. Later, Caden shared how Chula had kept him warm throughout the long night. "I was so scared, but Chula never left me," he said with a smile. These simple words touched everyone who heard the story. It was proof of the unique bond between humans and animals, a bond that shines brightest in the darkest moments. At the end of the day, the sheriff declared during a press conference, "This story shows what's possible when a community comes together. But Chula deserves special recognition. She is the true guardian angel of this story." The Leach family decided to give Chula a special reward. The little terrier was treated to a cozy spot by the fireplace, delicious meals, and even more love and attention than ever before. For Caden and Chula, it was clear. Their bond was unbreakable, and this experience had brought them even closer together. Caden and Chula's story is more than just a tale of rescue. It's an inspiring example of courage, unity, and the unshakable love between a boy and his dog. It was a happy ending that touched hearts worldwide. This story reminds us how powerful the connection between humans and animals can be. In the darkest moments, Chula proved that true love and loyalty know no bounds. Thanks to the tireless efforts of the community and Chula's heroic dedication, Caden made it home safely. Did this story move you as much as it did us? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming stories.